Hello everyone, Christina here. Welcome to the 8th capsule card for my challenge this month. This is a very simple card, just a little bit of stamping. It's mostly all about the watercolor and the masking. So I'm starting out with some Artistico extra white watercolor paper from Fabriano. I'm going to cut it down to about 5.5 by 7.5. So it is 1/2 inch larger in each direction than a 5 by 7 card. I did it this way because I wanted to cut it down to an exact 5 by 7 card front, but I also wanted to have some area to tape it to my board. And just in case the color went all the way to the edge, I wanted to have that. I'm going to be using some drawing gum today to write on kind of some large words in the background. So I'm first penciling on these words, just in a very, very loose, kind of casual script. Now, I don't want you to be afraid to do this with your own handwriting because this is such a large area. Even more casual writing would look great for this. Now, you'll notice I am using one of my really nice paintbrushes to do all of this writing. And in the past, and whenever I've used drawing gum or masking fluid like this, it can really gum up your brush and kind of ruin it. But there is a kind of a trick to the trade when it comes to using masking fluid, and that is to put a little bit of dish soap or hand soap on the bristles of your brush before you start using the drawing gum or the masking fluid. So I usually just take just a little tiny pump of dish soap and I put it on my fingertips and I massage it into the bristles of the brush, and then I just get my fingertips wet with plain water and just run it over the bristles again just to dilute the soap a little bit. And that makes it so the brush cleans off after you're done. So I've just immediately when I was done, I went and rinsed off my brush, and you can see there is no drawing gum gumming up the bristles of my brush. It worked beautifully and this brush is not ruined. So I let the drawing gum completely dry. That's a very important step when you're using masking fluid, is you need to let it completely dry. I actually created another card while I was waiting for this to dry. It probably really only needed about 15 minutes at most, but this way I made sure that it was completely dry. I put down a clean wash of water just to wet the entire watercolor paper. And then I started just dropping in some different colors from this paper fashion watercolor set from American Crafts. This was my chosen watercolor set for this month's challenge, and I have really grown to love this watercolor set even more. My prediction about spending the time and learning that particular palette turned out to be very true. I feel very confident in using this watercolor set now because I really know how the colors are going to behave and how I can get the results that I'm looking for. So I'm just dropping in all of those colors, and it's a very, very wet watercolor paper right now. You can see that red color kind of moving off to the side. I had to bring in a paper towel to sop up some of that color because I don't want the color going all the way to the edge. Now I did tape it down and kind of plan for the color going to the edge if it needed to, but everywhere else it was blending out and kind of blooming out so beautifully. I really didn't want that red shade going all the way to the edge of my watercolor paper. Using my heat tool to speed up the drying process, you definitely could just let this air dry. And then it's time to start removing all of that drawing gum. Now, this is the part that's like Christmas morning because you're revealing all that white underneath. And in the past, I've always used an adhesive eraser to pick up this drawing gum just because it's a little bit easier that way. But I did not include an adhesive eraser in my capsule crafting box for this month, so I could not use it, even though it is in my stash in my craft room. But thankfully, this drawing gum removes easily enough just by rubbing your fingertips over it. Kind of gathers up a little bit like rubber cement. So I'm using my eraser and just trying to erase those pencil lines, and most of it came off, but there is a little bit of a ghosting of a pencil line. It's hardly noticeable. Removed it from my hardboard, and then I trimmed it down to exactly 5 by 7. Actually, I think I might have made it just slightly smaller than 5 by 7. I don't entirely remember, but I'm pretty sure I cut it down to exactly 5x7. I then created a 5x7 card base out of some Nina Classic Crest Solar White cardstock, and I did this by cutting my cardstock to 10 inches by 7 inches, and then using a scoring board to score the cardstock at 5 inches. This makes the perfect 5x7 card base. To finish off the card, I'm going to stamp just a little tiny thank you greeting using the Occasional Labels stamp set from Mama Elephant. This is going to be just a very understated greeting just in the bottom of the card, and I'm going to be stamping it in some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. This is a nice stark black ink, and so I'll just press that down onto that strip of white cardstock. And then I can use my scissors to trim that down in a minute, but it is a little bit wet. I don't want to handle it now, so I've set it aside. And I'm first going to adhere this watercolor panel to my card base. Now that I see it on screen, I'm reminded that I did cut my watercolor paper to exactly 5x7. And because of that, I was able to kind of line them up like this and adhere them together just perfectly. So now I cut down that greeting with just some scissors, leaving a little bit of a white border around it. Then I added a very tiny strip of foam tape and then put that down right on top of the letter T on best, just to finish off the greeting on the card. Now that's the card for today. Super, super simple and easy. I think you could do a bunch of different phrases in the background with all that watercolor, and it's a great way to really make a statement on your card. Thanks so much for watching today. I will be back very soon with my 9th card in my Capsule Paper Crafting Challenge.